Explorers, merchants, and travelers alike have sailed the seas for a millennia, searching out new lands or new hope. When the seas are kind, their journeys are successful, but other times she takes a turn for the worse and lays her claim. Here are a few mysterious shipwrecks forgotten at sea. BIANCA Sea. The BIANCA Sea, a 600-foot luxury passenger ship, was originally named the Maréchal Pétain before she was redesigned and completed in 1949. In October 1961, after changing hands at least 3 times, she was in port when an explosion ripped through the engine room. Nearly 700 passengers and crew were able to escape as the ship slowly began to sink. After burning for 2 days, her anchor line was severed and a tow line was attached to her hull. They managed to tow her 3 miles before a storm started and broke the tow line. The BIANCA Sea quickly sank down nearly 165 feet before settling on the bottom. The DOTY. The waters of Lake Michigan off the coast of Milwaukee, USA, have seen many ships over the years, but one particularly bad year, violent storms claimed many more to the bottom. One of those ships was the DOTY, a steamship designed for transporting cargo across the Great Lakes. She was one of the last giant steamships in the USA when she went down in 1898. She was believed lost and destroyed, but was later discovered in June 2010, nearly 115 years later. She was 300 feet below the freezing waves and largely intact, which was surprising for a wooden vessel. The DOTY and her cargo were upright when they were found. USS CONESTOGA. After leaving the Navy Yard at Mare Island, California in 1921, the USS Conestoga was carrying 56 seamen bound for Pearl Harbor. She had been in service for 17 years and had a bit of a reputation for taking on water, but she passed her inspections. That night, gale force winds began to blow as the Conestoga passed Point Bonita near San Francisco, and she and her crew were never heard from again. The Navy searched for 11 days when she didn't arrive at her destination, but were unable to find her and declared her and her crew lost. It wasn't until 2009 when a sonar survey 30 miles from San Francisco spotted a 170-foot-long wreck 200 feet below the surface. 95 years after she disappeared, the Navy made a formal announcement that she had been found. The UMBRIA. First launched in 1911, the UMBRIA was a cruise ship that was eventually repurposed by Italy and used to transport troops to the East African colonies. In May 1940, the newly outfitted UMBRIA was boarded by soldiers from a Royal Navy ship while sailing the Red Sea and searched. At the time, her hold was filled with arms, ammunition rounds, explosives, and detonators. Since Italy had not joined World War II yet, the ship was held in British custody overnight. Early the next morning, the Italian captain received news that the country had formally declared war and decided he didn't want the 360,000 bombs and other artillery on board to fall into British hands. He came up with a solution and scuttled the ship. As water began to fill the ship, the Italian crew abandoned ship. Noticing the water, the British also abandoned their posts. The UMBRIA sank 125 feet beneath the waves, but its cargo was never salvaged even to this day due to the dangers it posed. Sweepstakes. Built in 1867, the Sweepstakes was a 190-foot Canadian schooner used for transporting coal. After operating for 18 years, she was damaged in 1885 off Cove Island. She was towed to Big Tub Harbor in the Georgian Bay of Lake Huron, but sank before she could be repaired. The 2-masted wooden schooner had been transporting coal at the time, so the contents of her hold were removed when she hit the bottom 20 feet down. Due to the clear water, the wreck of the Sweepstakes is clearly visible from the water's surface and is believed to be one of the best preserved 19th century Great Lakes schooners. SS BAYCHIMO. Owned by the Hudson's Bay Company in 1921, the SS BAYCHIMO was a steel-hulled 1,322-ton cargo steamer. She was used to trade with Inuit settlements in the Northwest Territories, but in 1931 she became lodged in the ice. She had just finished a trading run and was transporting traded furs and pelts back to port. Her crew disembarked and ventured a half-mile to the town of Barrow to take shelter. They returned 2 days later to find the BAYCHIMO had freed herself of the ice but became trapped again a few days later. The company sent air support to retrieve the crew, but 15 of the 22 men decided to stay and wait out the winter. Little over a month later, a terrible blizzard struck and the ship disappeared. The captain assumed the ship had sunk in the storm. A few days later, however, she was seen floating unmanned by Inuit hunters. For years after, people would still see her, but she was last seen in 1969, 38 years later. We hope you enjoyed this fascinating video. Don't forget to subscribe to The Riches for more. Thank you for watching.